For daily Ask Reddit. r/Ask Reddit. Serious adult workers, what was your first day on the job like? If you like the video, drop a like and subscribe so you never miss a video. Terrifying point: I was 21 years old and had never even stepped foot inside a strip club. I had bought a matching bra and underwear set from Mars Halls along with regular heels. Big mistake. I was told to watch the dancer before me on stage, who of course was gorgeous and clearly knew what she was doing. I went up there and immediately busted my ass because of the normal sized heels. The rest of the time was just spent holding on to the pole for dear life and hoping I wouldn't get fired for being the worst dancer they'd ever witnessed. I wasn't fired and eventually got the hang of everything, but I still cringe at how awful those first initial days were. What's the difference in regards to heels? Stripper heels or stilettos, although they are very tall and look much scarier to walk in, are actually so much easier because the front of them have a bigger, square platform, so it makes it easier to balance when walking/dancing. It makes a huge difference. I can't even walk in normal heels if that tells you anything. I started as a waitress in a strip club. 3 months later I tried dancing. My first time in the VIP, where I had been seeing the workflow for 3 months, so I knew what to say and where to go, but my hands were shaking. The guy even asked me if I was okay. After that first hour it was fine, but my body literally was shaking in the beginning. I didn't feel scared, though. It was a natural reaction. I was a cam girl for a little bit. First time was with my roommate. She had been doing it, and I knew she was a cam girl. She was making more in one night than I was from babysitting like 4 times a week. It was really awkward at first, but my roommate was a pro and played into it. First time lesbian sort of thing. Those tokens were flying in. Despite it being awkward, it was fun, and we made a lot. So I started my own account, became a cam girl. Any tips starting out? It's hard at first. Building up clients isn't the easiest thing. Some night you'll spend hours on cam and won't make much. Some nights you'll kill it without even trying. Find something that makes you stand out. A kink, unique personality, or unique talent. I look really young and I'm very small. It might sound gross, but my market was guys into DDLG and playing the part of little girl. I knew what it would be like going into it. I'd been working for the agency for a few months as a driver, taking the girls to their appointments, making sure they didn't get robbed or killed. My boss mentioned that he had had some interest from females wanting a male escort. I'd seen Deuce Bigelow. I figured, why the hell not? I was 18, and I cleaned up pretty nice. My first client was a woman in her late 30s. Not a supermodel, but not unattractive at all. She was in town for some auto parts convention and wanted someone to show her around. We wound up sleeping together after. I got my money and left the next morning. I did that until I moved out of state 3 years later. Was it ever difficult to perform? I would be mortified if I couldn't get it up for a paying customer, but it's not like we can just pretend to be aroused. There were times when it was difficult to perform. Not every woman was attractive, but the vast majority were mid to upper level executives. Well groomed, reasonably in shape. My agency catered to a higher class of clientele. And it's not like every woman wanted X. A lot of times they wanted a companion who knew the area. Detroit wasn't always the safest place. Easy to take a wrong turn and end up in a very unsafe place. I worked independently as an escort, so there wasn't really anyone to give me advice on what to expect. I read some websites here and there with general advice and set up a profile. The first few messages were people trying to scam me or looking for free nudes, and eventually somebody came through who seemed genuine. We discussed everything and then set a meetup at his place. Followed up with a phone call as I was setting off to confirm. Seemed a bit shifty over the phone, which made me nervous, and I didn't fully understand the directions to his place. I walked in circles around several apartment blocks being lost and called him nearly in tears because I couldn't figure out where to go. He ended up standing outside his block, so I saw him, and he actually looked normal lol. Slightly balding, wearing a t-shirt and jeans with round face and a kind expression. I can still picture him waving at me and me running towards him like a lost child who just found their parent. Got inside his apartment, Ushered him into the shower with me, and then the actual part was over fairly quickly. He booked a whole hour and we probably spent 45 minutes just talking about his life, video games and movies we like. The job has its ups and downs, but after that I stopped being so nervous and learned it wasn't as difficult as I thought. Most of my job was just being a good listener and boosting egos, make people feel good about themselves. Escort in a broth. Edit. Escort is a commonly used synonym for all the other words for full service sex worker where I'm from, making a note as there has been some confusion. Honestly, my first day was a mixed bag. The other girl I worked with was hilarious and properly took me under her wing and fed me a glass of wine before my first John to settle my nerves. I haven't drank on the job since that day, but that one drink really helped. I got tipped by one client, assaulted by another. When I was assaulted though, the other worker, the receptionist and my boss all had my back and gave him a proper telling off and barred him. This was a one-off, it hasn't happened since. I've never felt safer in any other job, and I have more control. I walked home that day with more money than I'd earn in a week in my last job. I've never looked back.